used at the Army laboratory at Dugway Proving Ground in Utah, which shipped live anthrax samples that it believed had been killed through the use of radiation. It remains unclear why well-established procedures for killing the spores apparently did not work, at least with some batches of the bacteria. Among the government labs identified in recent days as having received the suspect anthrax were the Army's Edgewood Chemical Biological Center in Maryland and the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Virginia, as well as a lab on the grounds of the Pentagon, and also labs in Tennessee and other states like California, Virginia, Texas, Utah, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Washington State as well. Also receiving the suspect samples were labs in Australia, Canada, and South Korea. On Sunday, Defense Secretary Ash Carter told reporters while traveling in Asia that the mistaken shipments were an unfortunate incident. He said the Pentagon will make sure that any public health consequences of this are avoided and ensure that it never happens again. The CDCP said last week that 4 people at labs in Delaware, Texas, and Wisconsin were recommended to get antibiotics as a precaution, although they were not sick. U.S. officials at Osan Air Base in South Korea said that 22 people are being treated for possible exposure there after word surfaced that an Osan lab was among the facilities that received the suspect live anthrax. This is an evolving situation regarding this live anthrax and the spores, which were apparently shipped out to several different locations around the United States and the world. We'll keep you updated on that situation right here on Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240. And this is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio. And you can also listen on Hot News Talk Radio on the TuneIn app, and you can save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com, click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio saves you money. That's AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. We have a lot of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have Don Imus in the morning. We have Laura Ingram. My show is Digital Drive with me, your host, Russell, where we talk about technology. We talk about quite a bit more than that as well. We've been covering the USA Freedom Act quite extensively. We've been covering the update to Windows 10 from Windows 7 and 8, and we've been talking about that quite a lot on my show, which is Digital Drive. Nuganomics.com is on after that from 1 to 3 with Mr. Toulis, David Toulis, where he talks about local economy and free markets from his own very Nuga-centric position right here at Hot News Talk Radio. Sean Hannity is also on Hot News Talk Radio. He made the switch, and so should you. Tell a friend about Hot News Talk Radio. We've got you covered here at Hot News Talk Radio. The United States is planning to cede internet domain control on track, and ICANN is going to be heading it. A controversial Obama administration plan to cede oversight of the nonprofit that manages the internet's infrastructure is on track to gain government approval by next year's presidential elections, the organization's chief said in an interview. Some Republican lawmakers have raised concerns about the plan to hand over the stewardship of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN, to a global multi-stakeholder body, worried that it may allow other countries to capture control. But ICANN CEO Fadi Shahade said much opposition was fading and that some opponents would come around once they see the accountability mechanisms and other assurances that have been put in place. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. There's going to be markups on cigarettes, wine, milk, and it's being decried as a hidden tax hike. Under new state law for Tennessee, retailers will have to charge smokers at least 15% more than the wholesale cost. The surcharge is theirs to keep. The increase follows last year's law requiring wine be sold at least 20% above cost and other longstanding laws requiring a 10% markup on milk. Justin Owen, the head of the conservative Beacon Center, calls those markups a hidden tax increase, except that the proceeds are funneled to retailers. Republican Governor Bill Haslam has signed the cigarette and wine markup bills, though his administration didn't take an active role in their passage. Haslam said in a recent interview that he hasn't put a whole lot of philosophical thought into whether the state should set minimum prices on retail goods. And that's the report from Mr. Haslam. The Cleveland is offering a $1,000 reward for the arrest of a graffiti artist. After vandals painted graffiti on the Cleveland-Bradley County Greenway, the city of Cleveland is offering a $1,000 reward. The reward is for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever is responsible for recent graffiti and acts of vandalism, according to a news release. The reward was announced Wednesday by Cleveland Mayor Tom Rowland Funds for the reward were raised by efforts for the entire Cleveland City Council, City Manager Janice Castile, and Mayor Rowland, meaning that the reward came at no cost to taxpayers, apparently came out of their pockets themselves. It is important that we apprehend the perpetrators, Mayor Rowland said. We want to send a strong message that this will not be tolerated. The Greenway is a popular part of downtown Cleveland, and it gets a fair amount of use. The cleanup efforts cost the city and taxpayers in cleanup and repair work. The reward is being offered for 30 days. Anyone who may have information about the crime should contact Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. That's 423-559-3396 for Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department regarding the graffiti on the Greenway. The state is going to be seeking the death penalty against 3 suspects in the Holly Bobo case. For a long time, many wanted to know if the state would be pursuing the death penalty against the suspects charged in Holly Bobo's murder. On Wednesday, the specially appointed DA announced that she will seek the death penalty against all 3 men and that she had no choice after reviewing the evidence. Zach Adams, Dylan Adams, and Jason Autry all appeared in court for a motion hearing on Wednesday morning. These 3 men are now charged with kidnapping, rape, and murder for Miss Bobo, who went missing from her family's home in Darden on April 13th of 2011. And Channel 4 asked the Bobo family how they felt about the state filing the notice for the death penalty, and they replied with, they're very patient people, but they are very determined to see justice for their daughter, and today has been one of those giant steps in the direction of and on the road of getting justice for their daughter, said the family spokesperson, Pastor Don Franks. In other news today, it's looking like, according to reports anyway, there were shots fired just recently. According to reports, shots fired on Dodson Avenue last night, and Cleveland police chose a block of Dodson Avenue, or rather close a block of Dodson Avenue after there was a shots fired call. Chattanooga police are now investigating a shooting that occurred Tuesday night. Witnesses say that unknown suspects drove by and fired into a crowd of people shortly after 9 o'clock p.m. Police say that one person was hit by gunfire and was taken to the hospital in a personal vehicle. The injuries are believed to be non-life-threatening, and officers shut down about a block of Dodson Avenue to scour the area for clues a short time after the shooting occurred. So we don't know any more information on that, but we'll let you know as soon as we find out more right here on Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240. All charges are now being dropped, apparently, against a nonprofit, where apparently there's been quite a few charges put towards this nonprofit. The CEO, and rather the nonprofit CEO, Mr. Bennett. So not only did Richard Bennett work within the mayor's highly publicized Violence Reduction Initiative program, he runs a nonprofit called A Better Tomorrow, which teaches life skills to at-risk children in the city of Chattanooga. His middle-of-the-night East Lake arrest last year sent shockwaves through the local government and our community. And a year later, almost to the day, all charges have now been dropped. The case is dismissed, said his attorney, Bill Speak. He said all the charges against him have been thrown out, and they said they found him not guilty, and he says, I'm happy for him and his family. Charges are dropped, but picking up the pieces and moving on may be a whole nother story. And Bennett's nonprofit showed much promise. It beat out the other groups to gain prominent roles in the Mayor's Violence Reduction Initiative. Last June, Mr. Bennett was arrested in a van near East Lake, and he was pulled over because reports said that he was driving erratically. The arrest report says that he was found with marijuana, an open container of tequila, and hydrocodone pills with unzipped pants, and a woman who claims Bennett owed her money. These are all allegations, of course. It took a full year, but one by one, the multiple charges against him were dropped. Even though he's acquitted today, he lost a lot, so for him it's vindication, but he's still rebuilding his life because he spent a year before he could get his side of the story out, so to speak. Once the court heard his side of the story, the court dismissed his case. Even with last year's arrest, Bennett hasn't stopped his nonprofit work. Since the date of his arrest till today, he has continued to work with at-risk youth, says Mr. Speak. And again, on those shots fired, injuries are still believed to be non-life-threatening. We just got an update on that. Injuries are still believed to be non-life-threatening for the shooting on Dodson Avenue. Still no name on who was shot, but we'll let you know as soon as we find out here on Hot News Talk Radio. The NSA reform bill has been passed, but the agency still can collect data via phone companies. President Barack Obama has signed the USA Freedom Act, which is a new law curbing some aspects of the NSA bulk data collection program, but the agency can still collect the data. The only difference is that now it has to get consent from those phone companies, although they can still sign national security letters, which would force the phone companies to give over that information. The Senate voted 67-32 in favor of the act, adopting the same version of the bill that had overwhelmingly passed the House of Representatives last month by 338-88. Tennessee Senator Lamar Alexander voted for it, while Bob Corker voted against it, by the way. The Freedom Act will take control of Americans' telephone metadata, information such as the time a phone call was made, to whom it was made, but not the actual content of that call, away from the NSA, and it places in the hands of telephone companies. The NSA will still be able to get that data, but the difference is that it will now be required to submit requests using keywords to access information that could be relevant to terror investigations. Supporters say the bill ends the bulk collection of telephone call records by the National Security Agency, as revealed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden back in the year 2013, as well as strengthen civil liberty safeguards and provide greater public confidence in national security programs, according to a statement issued by the White House. Daniel Ellsberg, veteran U.S. whistleblower known for the Pentagon Papers, says that Obama's Freedom Act only provides a very weak protection of human rights. The mass bulk surveillance of people who are not suspected is a violation of basic human rights all over the world, he added. So that's the update on the USA Freedom Act coming from us here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And this is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter, where you report, the world decides. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And search for half off on hotnewstalkradio.com. Actually, you can save half off now by going to hotnewstalkradio.com and clicking on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 at Hot News Talk Radio. We're trying to look at the weather now, where things are not looking too bad overall. Temperatures are nice at about 78 degrees right now. 47% chance of precipitation. So we may be seeing a bit of rain, but it's not apparent right now. The sky looks nice and blue here at the Hot News Talk Radio studios, so we can't confirm any rain as of yet. Of course, if you see any rain, definitely let us know on Twitter, where you can tweet at us, and we will retweet you right here on Twitter, and Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter, so we'll get the word out, and we'll, of course, give you credit. On Thursday, 83 is the high, 63 is the low. Friday, 85 is the high, 64 is the low. Saturday, 86 is the high, and 65 is the low. Expected to see rain on Saturday and Sunday and next Monday and next Tuesday and next Wednesday. So it looks like next week, until the middle of the week at least, we can confirm is going to be quite rainy. So keep that in mind as you're planning your weekend and the rest of your week. Thursday and Friday might be okay, although it's looking like we might be seeing a bit of rain on those days. There's a 20% chance of precipitation on Thursday and 20% on Friday. So keep that in mind. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Are you calling me yeller? Them's is fighting words.
Being called yellow, not a compliment. Yellow, the international symbol for caution. Yellow. You certainly wouldn't want to eat yellow snow. Yuck. We typically avoid yellow. So why would you put your hard-earned money into an outdated, expensive, slower yellow page? Or even trust their advice? Especially when your hard-earned advertising dollars could go much further, earning you greater profits, using the multifaceted resources and expertise of Chattanooga Web Services. You want real results for your advertising dollars. The local Chattanooga media experts, Chattanooga Web Services, will help your business grow, utilizing diversified media resources that's affordable to you, whether it involves the internet's World Wide Web, video, audio, or modern-day print. So don't get sucked into the yellow folks trying to upsell you into spending even more money as it ventures into a territory unfamiliar to them, the internet. Call Chattanooga Web Services, 424-3373. That's 424-3373. Or go to ChattanoogaWebServices.com, ChattanoogaWebServices.com.
Surgery does not have to be financially painful. Hi, I'm Surgical Dr. David Red, and I'd like to invite you to my walk-in surgery clinic in North Shore. Quick Surge brings you immediate relief from moles, skin tags, maybe a laceration. Quick Surge. You walk in, fill out a mini form, I numb the area I'll treat, and before you know it, you're on your way home. Do I take insurance? No, because I take cash customers. I have super low and fixed prices, credit card, check, or cash. Uninsured? Member of the working financially disadvantaged? Choose Quick Surge. I publish prices online. No murk, just sunshine. Hassle-free, pain-free. Love the idea of a personal relationship with a doctor? Drop in with a nasty cut from work. Quick Surge, I'll take care of you. Quick Surge in the Public Center on the North Shore. No insurance hassles with Quick Surge. The national medical system is dysfunctional, overpriced, very alienating. I'm part of the solution, and so are you. Come on home. QuickSurge.com. QUIKSURG. Relief.
Hi, this is your computer speaking. I don't feel so well. It's like I've come down with a bug, and I'm getting slower.
Affordable Computers. We fix sick computers. Your hometown guys at Affordable Computers will repair your PC in half the time of the big boys at an affordable price. No tricks, no gimmicks, no computer speak technobabble. Just good, quick, and courteous affordable service and repairs. Want to affordably supercharge your PC? Affordable Computers on Highway 58. Affordable Computers hand builds all desktops in-house. If you're looking for a better-than-new refurb laptop, $150 will get you a Dell or another name brand at Affordable Computers. Affordable Computers, Highway 58, between Arby's and Taco Bell. Also Fort O, Battlefield Parkway, near Holcomb's. Affordable Computers, we service what we sell. Call 499-1975. That's 499-1975.
Wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling great. Supercharged.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
524 here at Hot News Talk Radio. Here's Mike Wood with Hot News Talk Radio's Fast Traffic Now.
Hey, and I appreciate that, Russell. Good afternoon to you. Ringgold Road and East Street's right at 75. An accident. Spears Avenue right at Ziegler. We're working one there. Business is picking up a little bit here. North Holdspaw at Wilcox. An accident. Injuries. Ico Gap and Gun Barrel this afternoon. 24 East at Southmore. 24 East at Broad Street as well. An accident. And Ringgold. 41 in front of Dollar General. An accident. Power lines are down. In Cleveland, Royal Oaks and Live Oaks, tractor trailer doing the deal there, tore down those power lines. A crew on the scene right now. Mike Wood, the Traffic Center, Hot News Talk Radio here, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's 525 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell. Here's what's happening. There's a new kill switch technology that's going to be seen as a cure for GMOs run wild. So newly developed kill switch biotechnology may make it easier for corporations to use genetically modified organisms in the wild. More genetically modified organisms in the wild, of course, means more unnatural plants, according to some advocates for a organic movement. And more work needs to be done, researchers say, before what was science fiction until just recently has become science fact. Using a gene editing tool called CRISPR, or CRISPR, researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, had developed a process that, instead of editing engineered DNA strands, erases them entirely. In laboratory tests, GMO bacteria encoded with this kill switch died within 15 minutes of encountering the substance designed to trigger it, a sugar molecule called arabinose. And we could do a lot of good by being able to engineer an insect, for example, that goes out into the wild and has some disruptive capability over disease, says Christopher Voigt, an associate professor of biological engineering at MIT, as he said to Russia Today, saying, but we want to be able to control that, and that's really difficult as soon as you get into a real setting. The actual industry around genetically modified bacteria is enormous, Professor Voigt said. Industrial biotechnology is about $100 billion a year industry in the U.S., producing anything from cups and containers all the way to car components. There are many opportunities for engineered organisms to be powerful when released into the wild, from mosquitoes designed to eradicate disease to bacteria that could clear up pollution and fungi that could help plants grow. So there's some controversy, of course, over this DNA kill switch. Eric Friedman says on Twitter that, didn't we learn that life finds a way, quoting Jurassic Park, because DNAi is compatible with other GMO containment protocols, ones that trigger cell death, DNA deletion, or re-encoding of the genome with non-natural amino acids. One can imagine combining these systems to create layers of redundancy to ensure that engineered organisms are viable in particular environments, and if they escape, they eliminate their synthetic DNA, the team's paper concluded. Officials say that dozens of labs received potentially deadly anthrax spores, according to officials. So the problem of unintended shipments of potentially live anthrax spores over the past decade is now worse than we first believed, said officials on Wednesday. Officials said that it's possible that shipments were sent to more than 4 dozen laboratories in the U.S. and abroad. That's about twice the estimate of last week. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity of saying that they couldn't identify who they were because they were unauthorized to discuss specifics by name. The Pentagon has repeatedly asserted that the mistakes posed no public health hazard. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is leading an investigation of the matter, and details on the extent of the problem are expected to be presented at a news conference today by Robert Work, the Deputy Defense Secretary. Last Friday, Mr. Work offered a comprehensive review of laboratory procedures associated with killing or inactivating live anthrax for shipment to labs for research and other purposes, including for calibrating biological threat sensors, such as those used by a number of federal government agencies, including the Pentagon. The scope of the problem has grown almost daily since the Pentagon first acknowledged that it was in existence last Wednesday. The initial focus was on procedures used at an Army laboratory at Dugway Proving Ground in Utah, which shipped live anthrax samples that it believed had been killed through the use of radiation. It remains unclear why well-established procedures for killing the spores apparently did not work, at least with some batches of the bacteria. Among the government labs identified in recent days as having received the suspect anthrax were the Army's Edgewood Chemical Biological Center in Maryland and the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Virginia, as well as a lab on the grounds of the Pentagon. Officials said that the Edgewood lab sent some of the samples that it received from Dugway to other labs in the United States. On Tuesday, in its most recent update, the Pentagon said potentially live anthrax samples had been mistakenly sent to labs in California, Virginia, Texas, Tennessee, Utah, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, and Washington State, as well as receiving suspect samples were labs in Australia, Canada, and South Korea, where the Osan Air Force Base is in South Korea. It's apparently there's apparently several people now who are being treated for potential exposure to anthrax. In Tennessee, there are going to be markups on cigarettes, wine, milk, and so on that are being decried as a hidden tax hike. Under new state law, Tennessee retailers will have to charge smokers at least 15% more than the wholesale cost. The surcharge is theirs to keep. That increase follows last year's law requiring wine to be sold at least 20% above cost, and another long-standing law requiring a 10% markup on milk. Justin Owen, the head of the conservative Beacon Center, calls those markups a hidden tax increase, except that the proceeds are funneled to retailers. Governor Bill Haslam signed the cigarette and wine markup bills through his administration and didn't take an active role in their passage. Haslam said in a recent interview that he hasn't put a whole lot of philosophical thought into whether the state should set minimum prices on retail goods. Cleveland is offering a $1,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of a graffiti artist. After vandals painted graffiti on the Cleveland-Bradley County Greenway, the city of Cleveland is offering a $1,000 reward. The reward is for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever is responsible for recent graffiti and acts of vandalism, according to a news release. The reward was announced on Wednesday, by Cleveland Mayor Tom Rowland. Funds for the reward were raised by efforts from the entire Cleveland City Council, City Manager Janice Castile, and Mayor Rowland, meaning that the reward came at no cost to taxpayers. It's important that we apprehend the perpetrators, said Mayor Rowland. We want to send a strong message that this will not be tolerated. The Greenway is a popular part of downtown Cleveland and gets a fair amount of use. The cleanup efforts cost the city and taxpayers in cleanup and repair work. The reward is being offered for 30 days. Anyone who may have information about the crime should contact Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. That's Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. It's 3396. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and we have a lot of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have Don Imus in the morning, where he talks about all sorts of different issues on his show. He gets into political, he gets into entertainment issues. He talks about almost everything on his show, which is Don Imus in the morning right here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have, of course, Laura Ingram here on Hot News Talk Radio. And we have Sean Hannity as well, right here on Hot News Talk Radio. We also have with us David Toulis from Nuganomics.com, where he talks about local economy and free markets quite a bit right here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. My show is Digital Drive, where we talk about local economy and free markets. And we sort of get into the tech sector as well. We mainly focus on the tech sector, actually, on my show, which is Digital Drive. And we've been discussing quite a lot the USA Freedom Act, which I've been positing is not actually a Freedom Act, and it hasn't actually changed a whole lot. Especially if you listen to what some privacy advocates are saying. So it seems that not a whole lot has actually changed as a result of the passing of the USA Freedom Act. So it's a very complicated situation. David Toulis of Nuganomics.com has also been covering that pretty extensively on his show. So keep it tuned to Hot News Talk Radio for any sort of update that you might want on the USA Freedom Act. We've been covering that pretty extensively here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. Bob Corker, senator from Tennessee, says that Iran never thought that President Obama would use a military option to halt the nuclear program. So he's alleging that they never thought that any sort of military option would ever be on the table when it comes to the nuclear deal with Iran. Following comments from President Obama that appear to take U.S. military action off the table for preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, Senator Bob Corker said the Iranians have never thought the president would use a military option ever. He also raised concern about how the U.S. is continuing to make concessions in favor of Iran as the deadline for a final agreement is approaching. Senator Corker said that the Iranians have never, ever, ever thought this president would use the military option ever. He says, and I think the Obama administration has shown that they are doing everything that they can to race to a deal instead of sitting back and letting Iran come to them. It just seems like we are marching towards Iran's position, says Senator Corker. And multiple arrests have been made in connection with drug investigations on Crest Drive. Agents with the Lookout Mountain Judicial Circuit Drug Task Force conducted follow-up investigations on Tuesday on Crest Drive in Chickamauga. Investigations were based on numerous complaints of suspicious activity occurring in multiple residences on Crest Drive. Agents arrested Robin Dacia Clowers, who's 42, on Crest Drive after she was found to be in possession of methamphetamine and marijuana. While at that address, a vehicle that had not been included in the complaints attempted to pull into the driveway and then sped away when they noticed policemen, according to allegations. Agents then attempted to catch up with the vehicle. An object was tossed from the passenger side, and a white male leapt from the vehicle and fled on foot. The container was then located by agents and found to contain methamphetamine and numerous oxycodone, Schedule II, of course, tablets. None of the subjects in the vehicle claimed any knowledge of the illegal drugs, and the subject that fled from the vehicle has been identified as Drew Dylan Leonard, who's 26, of 949 Swanson Road in Ringgold, and he was later apprehended at the Crest Drive address and placed under arrest. The other occupants of the vehicle were also arrested for possession of methamphetamine, possession of oxycodone, and they've been identified as well. A follow-up investigation was conducted at the Crest Drive address, and resident Matthew Todd Alexander, who's 36, was found to be in possession of marijuana, and which is a misdemeanor. And an additional person identified as Tiffany Joan Van Pelt was located hiding in a closet in a rear bedroom. Miss Van Pelt was found to be in possession of methamphetamine as well, and an active warrant for a misdemeanor probation violation. And all the persons were transported to the Walker County Jail, and they were booked. The future of the Hamilton County Jail is now up for review. Hamilton County Mayor Jim Coppinger is exploring the option of privatizing the county jails. The discussions come as the current jail downtown is old and in bad need of repairs, according to the sheriff. Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond spoke on the condition of the county's jail following reports by the Hamilton County Grand Jury. And the grand jury reports to the judges, mayor, and county commission after reviewing the facility and have stressed the need for another jail. And Hammond says that it is simply costing us and our citizens too much to operate. County Mayor Jim Coppinger said that there's an extra $1 million being allotted to Corrections Corporation of America in the 2016 budget because of a 7.1% increase in inmates. That has him looking for cheaper options. During the conversations, we discovered that CCA is actually interested in buying our facility, building a facility at that site, and holding costs down, Coppinger said. What we pay CCA to operate the Silverdale facility, we couldn't come close to doing. We actually save millions of dollars by contracting with ACA, says Mr. Coppinger. That does not mean, however, that the sale of the workhouse to CCA and the closing of the current jail is a planned event at this time, said Jim Hammond. What it does mean is that we need a professional study group to determine what alternatives and options are available and cost-effective for the jail, Hammond said. That study would determine the current and future needs for space and the cost of building a new jail. Hammond said the study could take a year and building a new jail would take at least another 12 to 18 months. So Coppinger did not give a timeline on Wednesday, saying that it was premature. His hope is to file a resolution this month asking the commission for authorization to hire consultants. In Cleveland, they're offering a $1,000 reward for the arrest of a graffiti artist. Vandals painted graffiti on the Cleveland and Bradley County Greenway, and the city of Cleveland is now on a $1,000 reward. The reward is for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever is responsible for recent graffiti and acts of vandalism, according to a news release. The reward was announced on Wednesday by Cleveland Mayor Tom Rowland, I should say. Funds for the reward were raised by efforts from the entire Cleveland City Council, City Mayor Janice Castile, and Mayor Rowland, meaning that the reward came at no cost to taxpayers. It's important that we apprehend the perpetrators, Mayor Rowland said. We want to send a strong message that this will not be tolerated. The Greenway is part of a popular part of downtown Cleveland and gets a fair amount of use. The cleanup efforts cost the city and taxpayers in cleanup and repair work, and a reward is being offered for 30 days as well. Anyone who might have any information about that crime should contact Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. That's Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. 3396. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter, where you report, the world decides. That's AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Cowboy Up with Tex is coming up in about 40 minutes right here on Hot News Talk Radio, so keep it tuned here. He's going to be talking about the day's events, so definitely keep it tuned here. He's going to be talking a little bit about Bruce Jenner and all of that controversy surrounding that right here on Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, TradeBank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation. 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
If you have the DTs, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
542 here at Hot News Talk Radio. Here's Mike Wood with Hot News Talk Radio's Fast Traffic Now.
Russell, thank you so much, and good afternoon. We are still working several things. One of them, Fraser Avenue, 305, Fraser, right in front of the Mr. Zip with an accident. 500 Spears at Ziegler, an accident. North Holmes Spot, Wilson. I Go Gap at Gun Barrel is still there. 24 East still there, right at the 75 split this afternoon as well. Also in Ringo, 41 in front of Dollar General, wrapping up one there. And a reminder, too, construction tonight, 8 o'clock is when it starts till 6 tomorrow on the 153. The on and off ramps to and from North Access near the Chickamauga Dam. THP will be on scene to assist with traffic control. They'll detour traffic using Hickson Pike, DuPont Parkway, and McCullough as well. So you do want to keep that in mind. Mike Wood, the Traffic Center, Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's 5:43 here at Hot News Talk Radio. I'm Russell. Here's what's happening. We're looking at the news now where officials say that dozens of labs have received potentially live anthrax. So the problem of unintended shipments of potentially live anthrax spores over the past decade is now worse than first believed, officials said on Wednesday. Officials said it is possible that shipments were sent to more than 4 dozen laboratories in the U.S. and abroad. That's about twice the estimate of last week. Officials spoke on the condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to talk about this particular subject. The Pentagon has repeatedly asserted that the mistakes pose no public health hazard. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is leading an investigation of the matter. Details on the extent of the problem are expected to be presented at a news conference on Wednesday by Mr. Robert Work, the Deputy Defense Secretary. Last Friday, Mr. Work ordered a comprehensive review of laboratory procedures associated with killing or inactivating live anthrax for shipment to labs for research and other purposes, including for calibrating biological threat sensors, such as those used by a number of federal government agencies, including the Pentagon. What those do is they sense whether or not there's a biological agent being brought into one of the buildings, and supposedly if there is one, and so they're trying to calibrate whether or not those are actually working. So among the government labs identified in recent days as having received the suspected anthrax were the Army's Edgewood Chemical Biological Center in Maryland, and the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Virginia, as well as a lab on the grounds of the Pentagon. Officials said that the Edgewood lab sent some of the samples it had received from Dugway to other labs in the United States. On Tuesday, in its most recent update, the Pentagon said potentially live anthrax samples had been mistakenly sent to labs in California, Virginia, Texas, Tennessee, our state, Utah, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, and Washington State. Also receiving suspected samples were labs in other countries in Australia, Canada, and South Korea. On Sunday, Defense Secretary Ash Carter told reporters while traveling in Asia that the mistaken shipments were an unfortunate incident. He said the Pentagon will make sure that any public health consequences of this are avoided and ensure that it never happens again. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said last week that 4 people at labs in Delaware, Texas, and Wisconsin were recommended to get antibiotics as a precaution, although they were not sick. U.S. officials at Osan Air Force Base in South Korea said 22 people were being treated for possible exposure. There is word surfaced that an Osan lab was among the facilities that received suspected anthrax. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We are everywhere. Go to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio, and listen live to us, or rather, look at our live tweets on Twitter, where you report the world decides. That's AM 1240. Hot News Talk Radio. Save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio is saving you money. That's AM 1240 at Hot News Talk Radio. Looking at the weather right now, where it's actually looking pretty nice. It's in the upper or rather lower 80s, looking like it may be getting down to the 70s by tonight. It's about 81 degrees right now with a 47% chance of precipitation. So if you're worried about rain, you may be justified in that because it's about 81 degrees and 47% chance of precipitation right now. So we may be seeing some spotty showers sometime during the night. Just looking at the window here at Hot News Talk Radio studios, it looks quite blue. Of course, we're in the Hickson area. It looks quite blue with no apparent clouds that I can see, just going by the windows here at Hot News Talk Radio. For tomorrow, It's going to be about 83 degrees with 63 as the low. We're going to be seeing temperatures reaching about 81 by about 3 p.m. tomorrow. On Friday, 85 is the high and 64 is the low, and there's a small chance of rain on Thursday and Friday. Saturday, 40% chance of rain. Scattered thunderstorms are expected. 86 is the high. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday all have showers expected. So if you're worried about rain, you probably should be, because all next week it looks like it's going to be raining, and this weekend we may be seeing some rain as well. So keep that in mind, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that whole situation there right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And you can bet that we'll be keeping you covered when it comes to the different weather situations, especially if there's a road hazard. Obviously, we keep you updated with Mike Wood from the Traffic Center here at Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240. We have a lot of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. We have Imus in the morning. We have Laura Ingram as well. And we have my show, which is Digital Drive, where we talk about technology and quite a bit more right there on Hot News Talk Radio. And we've been talking about the USA Freedom Act quite a bit. Also been talking about the new USB standard, USB-C, which is reversible, so you can plug it in any way you want to without having to worry about turning it around and replugging it in and all that nonsense. We're talking about Windows 10 as well, and Microsoft's HoloLens, what that means for us in the computer world. And we're going to be talking about that and quite a bit more as well, definitely as well tomorrow on Hot News Talk Radio on Digital Drive. Nuganomics.com with David Toulis is also on Hot News Talk Radio from 1 to 3. He talks about local economy and free markets from his own very Nuga-centric position right here on Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240. Also is Sean Hannity here on Hot News Talk Radio. He made the switch, and so should you. So tell a friend, switch over to Hot News Talk Radio. And Sean Hannity is on Hot News Talk Radio. What you're listening to now is Hot News Now. We're talking about the local news, the national news, and the regional news all right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We're trying to keep you covered here on Hot News Talk Radio. The state is going to be seeking the death penalty against 3 suspects in the Holly Bobo case. A specially appointed district attorney said Wednesday that she will seek the death penalty against all 3 men charged with Holly Bobo's murder. Special prosecutor Jennifer Nichols said that she had no choice after reviewing the evidence. Zach Adams, Dylan Adams, and Jason Autry all appeared in court for a motion hearing on Wednesday morning. All 3 men are now charged with the kidnapping, rape, and murder of Miss Bobo, who went missing from her family's home in Darden on April 13th, 2011. The state alleges that the murder of Bobo was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and that it involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond what was needed to produce death. The prosecution promised to hand over all the discovery by the end of the week. And Pastor Don Franks, who's a spokesperson for the Bobo family, said that they are very patient people, the family, but they're determined to see justice for their daughter. Mr. Franks said, and today has been one of those giant steps in the direction of and on the road of getting justice for their daughter. All 3 suspects have pleaded not guilty to all of the charges against them. As Jason Autry was escorted outside, he was adamant that he did not commit the crimes that he is now being accused of in these allegations. In Cleveland, there's a $1,000 reward for anything leading to the arrest of a graffiti artist. After vandals painted graffiti on the Cleveland Bradley County Greenway, the city of Cleveland is now offering a $1,000 reward. The reward is for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever's responsible for recent graffiti and acts of vandalism, according to a news release. The reward was announced Wednesday by Cleveland Mayor Tom Rowland. Funds for the reward were raised by efforts from the entire Cleveland City Council, City Manager Janice Castile, and Mayor Rowland, meaning that the reward came at no cost to taxpayers. It's important that we apprehend the perpetrators, Mayor Rowland said. We want to send a strong message that this will not be tolerated. The Greenway is a popular part of downtown Cleveland and gets a fair amount of use. The cleanup efforts cost the city and taxpayers in cleanup and repair work. The reward is now being offered for 30 days. And anyone who may have any information about the crime should contact Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. Lieutenant Robert Harbison at the Cleveland Police Department at 423-559-3396. The future of Hamilton County's jail is now up for review. Hamilton County Mayor Jim Coppinger is exploring the option of privatizing the county jails. The discussions come as the current jail downtown is old and in bad need of repairs, according to the sheriff. Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond spoke about the condition of the county's jail following reports by the Hamilton County Grand Jury. The grand jury reports to the judges, mayor, and county commission after reviewing the facility, and he stressed the need for another jail. Hammond says that it's simply costing us and our citizens too much to operate. County Mayor Jim Coppinger said that there's an extra $1 million being allotted to Corrections Corporation of America in the 2016 budget because of a 7.1 increase in inmates. And that has him looking for cheaper options, he says. During the conversations, we discovered that CCA is actually interested in buying our facility, building a facility at that site and holding costs down, Coppinger said. He says, what we pay CCA to operate the Silverdale facility, we couldn't come close to doing. We actually save millions of dollars by contracting with CCA. That does not mean, however, that the sale of the workhouse to CCA and the closing of the current jail is a planned event at this time, said Sheriff Hammond. It's only a possibility at this juncture. Also, there's been an arrest or multiple arrests made in connection with drug investigations on Crest Drive. Agents with the Lookout Mountain Judicial Circuit Drug Task Force conducted a follow-up investigation on Tuesday on Crest Drive in Chickamauga. The investigations were based on numerous complaints of suspicious activity occurring at multiple residences on Crest Drive. Agents arrested Robin Dacia Clowers on Crest Drive after she was found to be in possession of methamphetamine and marijuana. While at 901 Crest Drive, a vehicle that had been included in the complaints attempted to pull into the driveway and then sped off when they apparently noticed enforcement officers. And agents attempted to catch up with the vehicle, and an object was tossed from the passenger side, according to police, and a white male leapt from the vehicle and fled on foot. The container was located by agents and found to contain methamphetamine and numerous oxycodone tablets. Oxycodone is a Schedule II controlled substance by the DEA. None of the subjects in the vehicle claimed any knowledge of the illegal drugs. The subject that fled from the vehicle, identified as Drew Dillon Leonard from Swanson Road in Ringgold, was later apprehended at 919 Crest Drive and placed under arrest. Leonard was also found to have felony drug warrants through Whitfield County in Georgia as well. The other occupants of the vehicle were also arrested for possession of methamphetamine and oxycodone. A follow-up investigation was conducted on Crest Drive, and resident Matthew Todd Alexander was found to be in possession of marijuana, which is a misdemeanor. An additional person was identified as Tiffany Joan Van Pelt, who was located hiding in a closet near a rear bedroom. Ms. Van Pelt was found to be in possession of methamphetamine and had an active warrant for a misdemeanor probation violation. All of the persons were transported to the Walker County Jail and were booked. Bob Corker says that Iran never thought the president would use the military option to halt the nuclear program, following comments from the president that appeared to take U.S. military action off the table for preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Senator Bob Corker said the Iranians have never thought the president would use the military option ever. He also raised concern about how the U.S. is continuing to make concessions in favor of Iran as the deadline for final agreement is approaching. Senator Corker said the Iranians have never, ever, ever thought this president would use the military option ever. And he says, I think the Obama administration has shown they are doing everything they can to race to a deal instead of sitting back and letting Iran come to them. It just seems like we're marching towards Iran's position. Beginning this week, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is holding a series of briefings and hearings this month to prepare members for a congressional review of a nuclear agreement with Iran if a final deal is reached. Work is set to begin on Highway 153 and the ramps near the Chickamauga Dam as part of a region-wide safety improvement project. Some areas in Hamilton County will be resurfaced using a skid-resistant surface treatment. Weather permitting, the contractor will be working Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on SR 153 at the on and off ramps to and from North Access Road near the Chickamauga Dam. The contractor will begin with the ramps on SR 153 North, followed by the ramps on 153 South. If the work does not get completed by Wednesday night, tonight, it will continue Thursday from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. During the work, the ramps will be temporarily closed. Detours using Hickson Pike, DuPont Parkway, and Anacola Highway are going to be marked. The Tennessee Highway Patrol is going to be assisting with traffic during this work. The work is, of course, going to continue weather permitting, and should inclement weather or unforeseen circumstances postpone this work, it's rescheduled to take place at a later date. Well, speaking of the weather, it's looking like we may actually have some rain tonight because now it's 78 degrees in the Chattanooga area and we have an increased chance of rain now to 60%. So they may actually be facing inclement weather according to our weather projections here at Hot News Talk Radio. Tomorrow, 20% chance of rain, 83 is the high for tomorrow. On Friday, 85 is the high, 20% chance of precipitation. On Saturday, 40% chance of precipitation, 86 is the high. And Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all next week, there are pretty high chances of rain of about 60 and 50% for some days. So we're probably going to be seeing some rain next week as well. So keep that in mind. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter, where you report the world decides. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Save half off now. Go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on the half off link for great deals. Hot News Talk Radio saves you money. That's AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We have a lot of great programming here on Hot News Talk Radio. Coming up next is Cowboy with Tex, where he's going to fit his spurs on, wear his cowboy hat, and he's going to saunter in to tell us about the day's events right here on Hot News Talk Radio. Keep it tuned here for that. And on Thursday, of course, is Texas Weekend Roundup right here on Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right